let's dive into this Batman stuff because it's a lot. We talked about it yesterday, but now there's a new thing in this story. Matt Reeves, apparently, this is a rumor, might exit the Batman Part 2 if shooting doesn't begin as planned later this year. While it currently appears as if Batman Part 2 will begin shooting this year as planned, should the movie be delayed again, there's a chance filmmaker Matt Reeves will step away from the project. In Batman 2, repeated release date delays have led to concerns that the movie will never happen. While The Batman was a success in 2022 and The Penguin received rave reviews when it premiered last September, Warner Brothers giving up the franchise isn't outside the realm of possibility. Neither the film nor TV series ended on a cliffhanger as such, and with DC Studios looking to deliver its own Batman movie titled The Brave and the Bold, there's something of a conflict there that surely puts the Batman franchise at risk. So earlier this week, there was once again chatter online about the Batman Part 2 being pushed back because filmmaker Matt Reeves or someone else close to him is dealing with health issues. He's yet to comment on that and likely won't, given that's a personal matter. On the Hot Mic podcast, Jeff Schneider shared his take on whether Robert Pattinson joining the cast of Dune Messiah is an indication that the Batman sequel is about to be hit by another release date delay, which was said to be a possibility earlier this week. I don't think anything has changed. I don't believe that movie has been delayed. I think Pattinson is doing both. Yes, he's going to do Dune this summer, and then yes, that's the summer, and he's going to be Batman in the winter. When they say push to 2026, could that be like, hey, we're going to start in December, and now we're starting in January? That could technically be it, Snyder continued. I don't think there was a massive delay. While the prolific reporter declined to specify what's happening in Reeves' life, he did express a strong belief, which may be more opinion-based than scoop. If Reeves isn't able to begin work on the Batman Part 2 by the end of 2025, there's a chance that Warner Brothers will move on without him. Whether that means scrapping the movie or hiring a new director isn't clear. He said, I know that Grace said something the other day on her show. I think she has certain things wrong. I think that situation is still unresolved, and that's why things are still unresolved as far as the Batman. I'll put it this way. I think even though that situation might be unresolved, I would say that if a decision isn't made by the end of the year, if the movie doesn't get up and running by the end of the year, I do think Reeves will exit. I think it'll be hey, we've got to move on here. It'll be very sad at this point. People are going to be understanding the circumstances, but there's some frustration, and it's going to be, we need to go on this with or without you soon. This may put an end to theories that there's some kind of rift between Reeves and DC Studios leadership. However, if Gunn is holding off starting work on The Brave and the Bold because Warner Brothers wants to prioritize the Batman Part 2, something's got to give. Batman remains DC's biggest box office draw, and at this rate will be closing in on 2030 before seeing him take center stage in a movie again. That won't benefit the DCU or Reeves' Batverse. Tellingly, Snyder also suggests that the sequel script still isn't done. Well, we don't know this. It says the Batman will be released in theaters on October 1st, 2027. It's supposed to. I don't know about that. I want to clarify something also. I saw Jeff Snyder, and this is one of the few articles that I think did mention this, because Snyder said it on Twitter. Snyder was pissed that so many people picked this story up as a story. He said, this is my opinion. He's like, this is what, in the same way that we're making our opinion here in about a minute or two from this question. He said, it was my opinion on what I think could happen. It's not gospel, and people are taking it and putting it as a headline. He's like, that's what I think, but I don't know that for sure. It's just an opinion. So I want to make that clear going into this, that Jeff didn't say, oh, you know what I heard? If he doesn't do this, he's out there not doing it. He said that's what he thinks. And I think it's a fair assessment to make, because my thought process on it, guys, is that what I think is happening, and I made this point yesterday, and I'd love to hear what you both think. And Coy, I know there's only so much like you could say, B want to say at this point. So we understand that if you've got to kind of tiptoe around things, I completely get it from your relationship with DC. But I'm going to start with saying that I think that what Warner Brothers is doing, I don't think they're prioritizing Batman Part 2. I think that they're waiting to see a bunch of different things. One, whatever the situation might be with Matt Reeves, and giving him the respect of figuring out whatever it is, personal issues, and they know what it is. We don't, and nor should we. Not our business. They'll figure all that stuff out. But I think what Warner Brothers is doing is they're going, we've got a really big movie and an important movie coming up in 2 months. It is a massive movie. It is Superman. It starts our DCU. If the movie fails, it makes no sense for us to go, you know what, let's not do the Batman 2 right now. Because if the movie fails, the DCU universe, unfortunately, no one's going to care about it because that's your linchpin. That's the thing. And if you don't have a Batman movie lined up anytime soon, you're in trouble anyway. So they're waiting there. Let's see how this does. If this does well, and Supergirl is the next one, then I think the Batman 2 is in serious trouble. In general, if they can't get it happening. If it isn't, this movie come out in 2035 with old Robert Pattinson. Who cares? Because they're going to need something anyway. So they're waiting. I think that's what they're waiting on. And if Matt Reeves decides, hey, this is a lot for me right now, I can't do this, and I probably won't do it for a little bit, so I'm out. I also think that's a possibility. But Winston, you hear all this stuff, like this particular story. What do you make of it, man? Let me tell you guys about Fast Growing Trees. I've discussed them before. I want to tell you about them again. They are the biggest online nursery in the US with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. They have all the plants that your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and a lot more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has got you covered. You can find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. You can order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape. You choose the right plants and learn how to care for them. That's exactly what I did. Everything I just said right there. That's what I did when I got my Honeycrisp apple tree. My wife was so excited to get it. We got it. It was beautiful when it got there. And then put it outside. We called somebody up to ask the kind of soil we needed. They said the kind of care we needed to give it. And it is thriving in the backyard. We're literally treating it like one of our kids. My little one gave it a hug. So it's really great. We love it. We love Fast Growing Trees. And we hope you love it too. This spring, they have the best deal for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code BIGTHING at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code BIGTHING at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code BIGTHING. Perfect time to plant. Use that Big Thing code to save today. The offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
I think first of all, above all else, and I don't normally follow Grace Randolph or anything like that, but I will if she's even remotely close to write about something near a Bozeman situation. I would hope that we are in a place now where people learned from that, and would leave people alone, and let them deal with things and stuff that's going on. Especially if anything starts to come out about anything, to immediately back off and just chill. It's not that serious. Clearly, whatever they're dealing with is serious, but getting your movie faster is not that serious. The second part is, I totally understand why Jeff was going off, but I also push back on that a little bit, in that is unfortunately what a lot of movie news has been the speculations and the rumors and things like that. And we know people take stuff out of context and just take headline and sound bites. Right. Versus really looking into full quotes, context, all that kind of stuff. So it's something that we have all agreed across all media needs to be adjusted, but it's just something that's going on. And then third of all, if Reeves is out, I would make the argument that this iteration, this world is gone. I don't think it would make sense to try and replace anybody, to try and pull anything like that. This was clearly his baby, his vision. It'd be like trying to do the Dark Knight trilogy without Nolan. That's not a thing. I don't care how good of actors you have and follow-up people and people that co-wrote with him, that it was fully his vision, his thing, and it's not going to lead to anything good. So if he needs to step away, then as sad as it would be, I think that we got one hell of a detective Batman movie. It doesn't mean we can't have another one, but this iteration, I think, is done.
Yeah, Coy, I know we've kind of not seen we haven't been on the same page with this in general, I think, because the way that I look at it right now, look, I love Matt Reeves. I think he's a brilliant filmmaker. I loved the Batman movie. Thought it was great. I think we're running into a Blade situation here. I think we're running into one of the, like, it's not in the way that they just don't have their stuff together with script and all that. I just mean with the fact that it's like, well, we're shooting now, and now we're shooting this, and now we're doing this. And the problem is that the DCU needs Batman. I mean, they need him. And if they are waiting for the Batman 2 to come out. They want that to come out before or within the same range. That article is not wrong. We're probably looking at another 3 to 4 years before we see Batman again in the cinematic universe. Whatever you can say, Coy, say it.
And I think my hot take is Superman has never been the leading force cinematically since 78.
Right.
And I think this is an opportunity to let the other giant titan of DC actually shine. I don't think Matt Reeves' Batman has anything to do with there not being a movement on the Batman Brave and the Bold publicly or privately. To my knowledge, I don't have any Batman knowledge that isn't public in this moment, but I do know that it is the summer of Superman. Now it's March. So April. It's April right now. Superman Day is around the corner. The Superman movie's around the corner. It's coming out in July. I personally, if I was James, Peter, or anyone, wouldn't be trying to talk about Batman when every single comic fan goes, oh yeah, Batman and Friends, DC Comics. Like Detective Comics is what DC is named after. It's usually like 10 Batman titles to every 1 or 2 Superman titles. Personally, I think they're just trying to make sure that people realize that it's not Batman and Friends, the studio. So I think, like you had just said with Superman, that being their front-loading device, I don't think they should even discuss Batman, whether they are or not, until Superman is out. So I think they delayed the Batman movie because of stuff that's real life, not fiction. And that has caused, Pattinson to be taking on other projects. But all of those projects still line up to do the Batman in the winter going into next year. So I think this is a matter of the Odyssey headlines came out. People saw that Pattinson was potentially going to be in both The Odyssey and Dune 3, and then we're like, how can he do it all? And it's like, well, filming a month each is how he does it all. It's not that complicated. So I think this became a bigger story than it actually is. But even if that's not the case, I don't think you talk about Batman until like October earliest, because you want July to be Superman's.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, real quick, I wouldn't say October. I don't disagree. I think I would say August, and I'll tell you why. Because Clayface is not too far out from starting and doing all that stuff too, and there's a good shot that Batman could debut in that movie,
and that'd be cool. What a different way to do it, and
could reveal in that movie. And I think Mike made that point yesterday on the show. And that's something to me that you need to have an idea of where he is in that world at some point. But I don't disagree that you got to see what your big movie's going to do first. Because if nobody cares about this universe, it's like a television pilot, really. It really is. It's like, okay, hey, we put this pilot out, nobody watch it. Are we going to make episode 2? No.
It's not even an episode 2. It's like, hey, we're thinking about this spinoff over here. And it's like, right. Bro, I didn't even like the first 10 minutes of the show. Why do I care about a spinoff?
Right. So it's like you really have to pay attention. And they are. That's exactly what they're doing. They're definitely having these conversations about what is happening, and it's the same way but different in when we were covering all the stuff when Safran and Gunn took over. When they took over, the DC EU was still going on, and there are questions of, well, what are you going to do with Gal Gadot? What are you going to do with Jason Momoa? What are you going to do with Ezra Miller? What are you going to do with everybody? And the answer was every time, well, we'll keep the door open. We'll keep the door open and we'll see. And what that meant, again, was let's see how they do in the theater. If they do well, we're going to have a problem. But we hope they do well because we're company players. But if they do well, we're going to have a problem because we're probably going to have to incorporate them because it means you guys still want to see them. But if they don't do well, then we don't have to worry about it. Then all those doors will be shut. We won't say that publicly, but all those doors will be shut. And what happened? All those doors were shut except Momoa. They said, well, it's not shut. Just walk through that one instead. And that's essentially what happened. And that's probably the same type of conversation. They have these things on the wall and they go, okay, if that happens, then we need to do that. If that happens, though, we're going to have to do that. And unfortunately, if that happens, we're going to have to do that.
And I also want to speak to the fact that James Gunn has been very publicly open about wanting these different movies to feel like they're all getting their own creative vision. They're all getting their own time to shine, that the shared universe idea is not going to be as strict with this. Like the fact that we have Clayface, Sergeant Rock, Superman, Supergirl. Superman and Supergirl have a through line, seemingly, I assume. But like it is very intentionally a movie that is like reading comic books, where you can pick up one, you can pick up another, you can see the tie-ins, but they're not going to be like Marvel where it's like this. So I think that's the best place for something like the Batman 2. The Penguin, they advertised heavily because there was like, as DC Studios was coming together. So I think all the people that are like, well, James only wants one Batman, according to who?
Right.
Yeah. It's nothing that he has said publicly of that.
He's
device,
implied the opposite pretty heavily.
Pretty heavily, you know. So I don't think that that's really what's going on. I just genuinely think it's the duel of what is going on, of what James said. I'm not greenlighting or moving anything until the scripts are set and we feel good about it, and like this is going to be something quality and we're going to go forward. And then I think the other hand is exactly we have a essentially $1 billion franchise right here.
Right.
Why would we let that go unless we really can't make it happen? And again, if there's something personal going on with Matt, then that's a pretty real reason to not go forward.
It's true. You know, I made this point a little while ago, and it's so funny how we have turned, like, for some reason, the $1 billion movie is a measure of success. Like this comment, right? Why didn't that happen after the flop of Man of Steel? Man of Steel made $670 million. It was
well, it's also revisionist history.
Because it didn't make $1 billion. People think it's a flop. That movie's not a flop. It was because all the Marvel movies and everything was making these massive big numbers, and it didn't make, you know, what was it was the first one out the gate, right? And so that's what we're saying. So like, well, that flopped. How come the DCU didn't die? Because it made $670 million. It also had Chris Nolan on board. It didn't hit the numbers that they wanted. They wanted it to hit Marvel numbers, but it didn't hit that. So, but what they did do instead,
it was the fourth highest grossing film that year.
It was a huge. It was a huge number. It was a huge number. But what it did though, because the studio fell into the same pocket that guy fell into, and they said, "Oh, it didn't make $1 billion. We got to put him with Batman. Put him with Batman. Don't build up Batman v Superman. Let's do that. Don't build it up." And then the whole thing started to fall on itself because they didn't wait. They weren't patient. And I think Gunn's going to be patient, and that's what you need to do. So, all right. Well, that was go ahead.
Time out. I apologize. That was domestic. It was 9th worldwide, which is still ridiculous.
It's $70 million.
Iron Man 3 made 1.2.
Wow, I didn't know.
Holy crap!
I didn't know he made $1 million. Right, but that's why back then I remember that. I remember clear as day. I remember people like, "Oh, it's disappointing. It only made that amount of money." It's like it made $670 million.
More than Thor: The Dark World.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Right. What do you guys think about all this stuff going on with Matt Reeves, Batman? Your thoughts have to be heard. Put them in the comments. Put them in the live comments. Put them in the replay afterwards. Put them on Spotify. Videos on Spotify. Make sure you check that out. Do that. So, thank you.